Okay, welcome aboard. So if you are watching this video, that means that you were able to successfully access a Linux system. It can be that you have Linux on your laptop or desktop, or you have a virtual machine on your laptop or desktop that is running a Linux system, or, like the case is for me, you are connected remotely to a Linux server. So my setup is I am on macOS. I am connected remotely to a node of the student cluster, one of the servers that makes the student cluster from research computing at USF. So what you see in front of me is my view of the terminal. So if you have Linux on your desktop or laptop, either like native or a virtual machine, you would have to open the terminal application to see what I'm seeing here. Because I logged in remotely with a text-only terminal-like application. So bottom line, we are looking at the Linux command line. Okay, so generally what you interact with in a command line environment is called a shell. Okay, it's a program that interprets your commands and do stuff on your behalf. This is called the prompt. And it can vary. You can even customize it, okay? In this case, I didn't customize it. This is a default setting on that server. It gives me my username at the name of the server, and then a little thing here that represents which folder I am currently in. This is what we refer to as the current working directory. Okay, so let's rewind a little bit. I mentioned something about the server. Well, when you're on a system like that, there is a command, very simple, hostname. You type it, hit enter, the shell executes it for you, and it tells you, very simply, what is the full name of the machine that you are working on. Okay, so this terminal is open on sclogin1.rc.usf.edu. Another command that's going to allow you to get your bearings, figure out where you are, is pwd. So pwd stands for print working directory. So I already mentioned the term current working directory, right? Well, a terminal is like a window when you open a file explorer. When you open the Windows File Explorer or the macOS Finder, you have a graphical application, right, that shows you the content of a specific folder on your drive, and then you click, you navigate the file system, and you go wherever you want, right? Well, at any point in time, it's showing you the content of one folder somewhere. That's the current working directory for the Finder, for the Windows File Explorer, okay? Here, the terminal is open, waiting to execute my command, and it is actually located at a specific position in the disk, in the file system of the Linux machine. This is a specific position. So every user of a Linux system is going to generally have under a folder called home, is going to have like some level of organization. So like, for example, here they have been separating the user alphabetically, but it's going to have at the end a folder. Generally, that's the username, the name they use to log in, and that folder is private to them. Okay, so if we have like 100 users, they are going to have 100 folders like that, each with their name on it. And what I do there cannot be accessed by default by other people. And reversely, I cannot go and look around, in other people's folder if they don't give me permission to do so. Okay, so this is pretty much how we locate ourselves. Right? What host am I on? What is my current working directory? The funny thing about the current working directory, I'm going to use it as an excuse to introduce a concept here, is that the answer it gives you is a complete file name, a full file name, okay? Well, this is not the name of a file, this is the name of a folder, right? It's okay. In Linux, we call file sometimes also folders, okay? Because down there in the implementation level, they are kind of implemented the same way as files are implemented. So bottom line is, it tells me what folder I'm in using what is called an absolute path. So absolute path means that it starts at slash, and the folder slash is the one folder to rule them all, right? It's the one folder that starts everything on the Linux file system. If you are on Windows, you are used to having letters, right? D colon, C colon, etc., Z colon. Well, it's because Windows has a sort of fragmented view of disk space. This is one partition, this is another partition, this is a removable USB drive, this is a floppy, a CD-ROM. All of those are named differently using letters. In Linux, there's no such thing. Slash is the root of the file system. That's where the file system begins. And then, as a subfolder of slash, you can find folders that come from different devices, and they are all unified like that. Okay. So, for example, I could access something like slash MNT, and then, for example, USB, and the Linux system would, for example, connect to that folder the entire USB device that I have inserted in my laptop. Okay, so I'm going a little bit ahead of myself here, but bottom line is an absolute path name starts with a slash. Then it tells us what subfolder in the root folder we are talking about, home. Inside the slash home folder, what subfolder are we talking about? A. Inside slash home slash A, what subfolder are we talking about? Alessio. That's the folder that I am currently in right now. Okay, so that's my current working directory. All right, so that name slash home slash A slash Alessio is interesting because there are two components, okay, to any full name for like a folder or full name for a file. There is a base name, and appropriately you have a base name command that is going to take as argument a name of a full path, right? So for example, here slash home slash A slash Alessio, let's say that I have a file named notes.txt or something like that here. When I ask for the base name of that, it doesn't go and look for the file. It just takes the string and say, okay, if this represents the location of a file with an absolute path name, this part here represents the base name of, in this case, the file. And you can have a base name for a folder too. There we go. This is a folder slash home slash A slash Alessio. This is my home directory, right? The base name is the last part of the full path, Alessio, the name of the folder itself. And then the counterpart of this is a command called dir name, whatever you pronounce it like, slash home slash A slash Alessio slash, let's say, a file, notes.txt. Again, that file doesn't have to exist, okay? Those commands, they take a string, a name, and they decompose it for you. So it's going to tell us the name of the folder in that full name is up to here. This is the location of the folder in which the file not.txt is located. And again, same thing, dir name, blah, 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 pass just a path to a folder. Well, it tells us, okay, this is the path to the folder, where to find it, and this is the name of the folder that you are working on right now, Alessio. Okay, so you've seen me type some commands, and then sometimes the commands appear like real quick on the terminal, right? So it's because I'm using the up and down arrow. Up shows me the last command that I type. If I press up again, the one before that, up again, the one before that, again, again. I'm navigating in the history of all the commands that I've been typing, okay? And if I want to go down that history, press up, arrow down, etc. And I go up to, well, the current command that has not yet been typed. So if I want to do a dir name slash home slash A slash Alessio slash something.txt, up arrow, and then I add what I want to add. Okay? So this is the first level of convenience in a shell. No, you don't have to constantly retype everything. Okay? So now that we know we are in a current working directory, which is in this on this server slash home slash A slash Alessio, what's in that folder? Okay, there's another command, ls, for list. It's going to tell me the list of everything that is in this folder. So here, ls is configured to be nice, so it colorizes things. In green, you have like normal files, text files pretty much. And in blue, you have the name of actual folder, subfolders, okay? So that means that in slash home slash A slash Alessio, there is a folder called, I don't know, documents, okay? So that means that there is a folder named slash home slash A slash Alessio slash documents. That's a valid name of a valid folder that exists inside my home directory. So the ls command gives me like basic information, right? A list of everything that's there. It actually doesn't show me everything. If I want to really see everything that's there, I need to type ls space -a. Dash, when you put minus and a letter like that or several letters, generally it's an option to the command. So right now I'm asking the shell to execute the command ls with the option a. And this is what it does. So what happened here? Well, this is where I type the command, right? Anything below it is the output of the command. It shows me all the stuff that it was showing me before, like music, pictures, desktop, documents, etc., those folders. It shows me the files as well. For example, dmesg.log, well, it was already there, okay? And then it shows me a lot more stuff. Some of that stuff is file names, but they all start with a dot. And some of that stuff is folder names, but they start also with a dot. So here's the thing in Linux, Unix, Mac OS, okay? Anything that is derived from a Unix system. If you name a file with the first character of the name being a dot, it's still a regular file, okay? This is an acceptable file name, but it's not going to show all the time. It's not going to show by default when you do, for example, ls. But if you ask ls to show you everything, A for all, then it's going to show up. So it's a way to hide files and folder, okay? So that's a thing that's different from Windows, for example, where hiding a file or a folder is a matter of changing an attribute of that file or folder. In macOS, Unix, Linux, and all the Unix-like system, it's just a matter of naming it with a name that starts with a dot, okay? So how can we tell which one, like when we do a simple ls, how can we tell which one is a folder, which one is a file? Well, I already told you, the shell is nice enough to colorize things for us. The colorization is a configuration. It's not always there, so you have to have another way, right, to know what's going on. Well, yes, you need to have another way to know what's going on, and we do have a way to know what's going on. When we do ls-l, there's a lot of information that's given to us. So L means long format, okay? Displays a list of everything in my folder, my current working directory, in long format. So it shows the same stuff than sooner, right? The same names, Bobbyverse, desktop, dmsg.log, but a ton of additional information. The timestamp where the folder or file was last modified, its size, the name of the user that created the file, the group to which the user that created the file belonged to, and then something a little cryptic here. We're not going to go in detail into it, but this represents the permissions, the access policy to that file. So do you want everybody to be able to read your file or enter your folder? Do you want only you to be able to see that file or enter that folder and see that folder content? Well, this is where you're going to have it shown. Okay, but for now, the only thing we're going to pay attention to is that first character in that series of characters, right? If it's a dash, it's a regular file. If it's a D, it's a folder, desktop, okay? So that first letter tells you already what you are dealing with. If I do ls-a, I see all of those dot file and dot folder, right? Well, I can combine the two options. ls-al or ls-la is going to give me the same result, and it scrolls past the end of the screen, right? But it's going to show me pretty much all of those files. And again, D is for a folder, whether it's hidden or not. Minus is for a plain, normal text file, whether it is hidden or not. Okay? So last thing that we can do to get some information, by the way, you see me sometimes refreshing the screen, right? Like clearing the screen. Control L to do that. You do Control L, and whatever you have typed here, there we go. We go back to the beginning of the screen, the top of the screen, and we clear all the mess that can be there. Okay, it's really practical when you have a lot of stuff displaying on the screen and you want to kind of clean it up so that you see what the next command does, okay, without any problems. All right, so we were talking about getting more information about file names. So far I've been getting more information about everything in my folder, okay, with the L option of ls. But I can use ls like this too. I can say ls-l, and let's say that there is a particular file in my folder, like let's say a poem. I think I have a poem _ rings.txt file. If I type this, boom, the file exists, so it's going to list it, and it's going to give me the extended information about it. So that means that the ls command, by default, it shows you what's in your current working directory, but it can accept an argument, and that argument can be the name of a file, and it's going to give you details on that file, or it could be the name of a folder, for example, document, documents, sorry, and I made a typo. Let's see what happened when you do the typo. There we go, it doesn't exist. Okay, fine. ls-l, well, actually upper row because I'm lazy. And then documents, I correct the line, enter, and it shows me what's inside the folder documents. Not really exciting. So let's find something else. ls, there is a folder called edu, right? So I'm going to drop the -l for now. There you go. This is the content of edu. I want more information. This is the content of edu with more information. Is there anything hidden? Well, in this case, no. The only things that are like appearing when I do the -a are two folders named respectively dot and dot dot. These are hidden. These are special folders. We are going to talk a little bit about more in a few minutes. Okay. So what else do we have? ls. We have also a command file. And that command file is the coloring of ls doesn't work, right? You cannot tell which one is a folder, or you are lazy, you don't want to do ls-l because there's too much information, blah, blah, blah. You don't want to look at that first letter. Well, here comes the file command that's going to take as argument the name of a file, and it's going to tell you what's going on with that file. What kind of file is it? And unlike Windows, in Linux, we don't determine what the file is just by looking at the suffix. Like assuming that .txt is a text file. No, we don't do that. There is another way, I'm not going to go in detail, but there's another way to tell what the file are, and the file command uses that way of identifying file to tell you what's what. So if I do files, for example, edu, file edu, it's going to tell me it's a directory. Okay, file documents, it's a directory. Okay, all right. So, does everything that we've done so far looks like it works only in your current working directory, right? So I am here in /home/a/alessio, and I can do a ls, I can do a ls of a subfolder here, ls of a file here, I can use the command file, etc. Yeah, no problem. Sometimes you want to access something that is outside your current working directory, right? That's okay. When you type pwd, I told you that it tells you the full name of your current folder. It happens that every user has a /home something folder. So this is my home directory here. I am inside my home directory. What if I want to see what's in /home/a? ls/home/a. Permission denied. I don't have permission to take the list of all the users that start with A that all have a folder in /home/a. Can I do /home? Yes. Okay, these are like all the letters, and each letter folder, they are all the user which name starts by that letter. Can I do ls/? Yes. Slash is the root, right? The origin of this file system. Everything is somehow a subfolder or a subfolder under /. So I can specify as an argument something like, for example, ls, that's it, or ls the name of a file, or ls the name of a folder, okay? But I can also specify a full absolute path, for example, /home/a/alessio, so that's my home directory, /downloads. So this one is not exciting, so again, let's go for edu. There we go. So this is the same thing as doing ls edu, okay? Because I'm in /home/a/alessio right now. So that's my current working directory. I tell ls to just do a ls of the subfolder edu, that works. Or I can access that subfolder edu by a different name by saying its complete absolute path name, which is /home/a/alessio/edu. Okay. All right. So different ways of naming. A lot of commands that you are going to use are going to accept this kind of full path name of a file. Okay. As a matter of fact, when you have a file like that, you don't exactly know where you are, etc. You don't want to do a pwd. There is a command that's going to also allow you to find out information about where this file is relocated, right? So it's a command realpath. So if I say realpath dmesg.log, it tells me, okay, that dmesg.log file that is right here in your current working directory, the full name of the path to access it is /home a alessio dmesg.log. Okay, same thing for folder. I can say I want documents, documents, there we go. And it's going to tell you this is a full path of document. So this is the absolute path name. This is just a relative path name. How can you tell them apart? The absolute path name always starts with a slash, the origin of the file system. And the relative file name starts with nothing, really. There's just, you go right for the name of the file or the folder. And that means that by default, this name is considered to be a location relative to your current working directory. Okay? And that's it. That's not that difficult, right? So we have absolute files, absolute full names. We have relative full names. What else can I show you? Well, I can show you something that some of you might have already noticed. I don't type everything, right? As a matter of fact, I try to type as little as I can. So how come the names complete themselves? Like real path, boom. Document. This one is a little harder. Document, boom. So the key here is called auto-completion. The shell, if you type, for example, a command like L, you are starting the typing of a command, right? You don't want to type the whole name. You hit the tab key. In this case, it says, it doesn't do anything when I hit the tab key the first time. I hit it again, it says, you sure you want to see the 119 possibility? I'm going to say yes. It shows me all the commands here that start with L, okay? And I can use up and down, I can use enter to scroll down, and when I reach the bottom, I'm done. So I can do this with, for example, real tabulation, and it completes real path. So what is the difference between the two? When I type L, the shell doesn't know what I'm referring to. It tries to autocomplete, but there are so many possibilities. It shows me the possibilities and says pretty much, give me another letter, and then another letter, and then another letter, and I'll try to figure out as soon as I can what you're referring to. For example, here, we have something called local. So if I do L, O, tab, still no completion, C, no completion, A, L, it completed the L, but apparently, if I hit tab two times, it shows me there's still some ambiguity. There's something called local, localect one, local def, local get cert, etc. So I want this one. So I'm going to say, all right, put an E here, tabulation. And now there's still ambiguity because the shell doesn't know if I want to refer to this or if I am here and I want to refer to CTL. So if I wanted, for example, local CTL, I would put a C here, and then tab key, it autocompletes. So the shell is able to autocomplete command names. So this is useful sometimes, but the times where you are going to really use the tab key a lot is autocompletion of file names. For example, ls. So I am in this home directory. I'm going to do a ls-l of /h tab. Oh, I'm lucky. There is only one file or folder that starts with the letter H under /. So the completion was immediate. And then I want to go into the subfolder that has my user. So it's A, tab. Again, there's only one folder, one subfolder, or even one file that starts with the letter A under /home. Perfect. And then Alessio. And then I'm in my home directory. Let's say I hit tab one more time. It doesn't do anything. A second time, it shows me everything that is in my home directory, okay, that I could continue typing. So when you are like in that screen that shows you a lot of stuff, it shows more at the bottom, right? So you are like in a file viewer. We'll talk more about those in the next video. But the bottom line is that if you want to get out of it, you just press the key Q. Okay, that's what I did. So going back here, /home/a/Alessio, I know there's something that starts with a D, uppercase D. Well, there are actually three things. I tab 2 times, it tells me you have choices. I cannot autocomplete yet for you. Well, I want something that starts with DO, tab, tab again. There's still more choices than necessary. Okay, WN now, tab. There we go, it's complete. And I can do a ls of that folder contents. I don't have anything in my downloads folder right now, but this is how it would show up. Okay, so we have covered already the minimum that you need to be able to do things as a command line interface. There is one last thing. How do I move? Okay, but because I spent all my time right now in /home/a/alessio, my terminal had a current working directory that never changed, no matter what I did. I instructed ls to do things like, for example, list the content of another directory, and I specified it by an absolute file name, or I used ls somewhere. I'm going through the history of what I typed. I used ls, for example, to do, there we go, to list the content of a subfolder edu from my current working directory, and I could try to autocomplete that, and it would show me, like, okay, there's a bunch of subfolder under edu. So I don't say /edu, right? I say edu because this is relative to my current working directory. Under edu, there are a bunch of folders. I want the one for CIS 1930, and then tab. There are like files, there are subfolder, and we can keep going like that, okay? But I'm going to take notes.txt, and I can do that. Or I can ask for details, ls-l. These are the details about that specific file. So I've been specifying absolute and a relative directory that targets something that is not necessarily in my current working directory. But at the end of the day, when I was done executing those commands, my current working directory didn't change. Okay, introducing the command cd, change directory. So as you can guess, cd is going to change your current working directory. So the same way that I could say, hey, I want you to ls, for example, here, let's be lazy, up a row. I want you to ls that file. Awesome. I want you to, so a file is not going to do the trick for us. Let's find a folder. There we go. I want to ls that folder. So I specify the absolute path name. Well, instead of doing a ls-l, I could have used a cd command, same argument, and boom. My pwd now gives me a current working directory name that has changed. I am now inside /home/a Alessio downloads. So you can pass as argument of the cd command an absolute file name like this, okay? Or you can pass to it a relative file name. So to show you that, I'm going to first go back to my home directory. So if you type cd without any argument, enter, you go back to your home directory. That's the default behavior of the command cd if you don't pass anything to it. There is also a shortcut that you need to know about, the tilde character that is generally left to the one key on your keyboard. The tilde character is also an abbreviation that means my home directory. So if I cd to that folder, it shows home a Alessio. Okay, so I can use this abbreviation to do things such as cd tilde /edu /CIS 1930, and I use auto completion here, and then it's going to catapult me to that folder. Okay, so again, let's go back to the home folder. So I was able to specify here absolute path names, right? Well, I can do the same thing with relative path names. So what do I have here? I have edu, for example, with class, etc. Okay, I can do the same way that I can do ls edu, so relative path name, and then inside of it CIS 1930, inside of it readings, I think, yeah, there we go. The same way that I can do this, I can do cd edu /CIS 1930 readings, and that changed my working directory to that folder. Okay, so the argument of cd is a full path, whether it's absolute or relative, no problem. Okay, so with that we can navigate the file system. We can go anywhere in the file system. Then we can do things in that folder like ls, ls-l, ls-a, file, poems, what kind of stuff is it. Then it tells us it's a directory, a cd inside of that directory from my current position. So relative file name, right, path name, ls. Now there are two files here. Are they really files? Yeah, file rings. There we go. It's assembler source ASCII text. So sometimes it doesn't guess absolutely right, okay? ASCII text, yes, this is a plain text, but it's not assembler source. I'll show you the content in another video. And then file road, that one is okay, ASCII text, no problem, okay? It doesn't guess right, it guess wrong. So there is a part of it that is guesswork with file, the file command, a part of it that is actually encoded. The part that's encoded is that both of those things are text files. Okay, but then it tries to guess based on what it reads in the file sometimes, whether it's a Python source code, whether it's a C source code, different programming language, an assembler source code, etc. In this case, yeah, the assembler was kind of misleading there a little. But we have now a tool to allow us to do navigation in the file system, go everywhere we want. What if I want to go back to /home/alessio/edu? Okay, so I'm here. This is /home/alessio/edu. My current working directory is that, and then subfolder CIS 1930 readings poems, right? This is my current position in the file system. Well, I want to go to, for example, /edu/cop, what are the choices? Tabulation, let's say COP 5227. That's another folder, right? I can type it like that. After a while, I'm going to get sick and tired of having to type the absolute path name. I would like to type a relative path name, but the problem is that when you are inside the poem folder, that is inside of reading, that is inside of CIS 1930, etc., 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 there is no way that we know of right now to express the position of that other folder here based on our current position right here. Well, the syntax to do that is ... So when we did ls-a, I told you that those two hidden folders were like special folder. One is named dot, one is named ... without space. Okay. If I do cd ... let's see what happened with just that. pwd, this is my position in the file system. cd ... what happened? I was in poems, that is inside of readings. When I say cd ... Siri he's attacking me. I don't know why. If I do cd ... right, that means go to the parent folder. So poems right now is where I am. The parent folder of poems is the folder name to the left of it when you look at the whole file name, the whole path name. Okay, and I can keep doing that, cd ... and now I am in /home/alessio/edu CIS 1930, cd ... again. I am now one folder up again, and now I can say cd COP 5227 ls, and then if I add over a folder, I could say cd blah blah blah, and keep going like that, exploring the file system. Every time the pw command reminds me of where I am. In that particular server, I told you that the prompt of the shell was that part, right? That appears like waiting for me to type a command. So I told you there was a username and the name of the server. There is also the name of the base name, pretty much, of my PWD. It's always there to remind me that right now I am in COP 5227. So it doesn't remind me of the full path, but it says, okay, if you do a PWD right now, the last name you're going to see is the name of that folder. This is the prompt remind you of that. Okay, like, look at this. If I do cd ... I'm now in edu, and it shows right here. Okay, so you have all the tools now to navigate through the file system. We just need to finish with a little bit of fireworks, right? We're going to put everything together. So I can do things such as cd, the ... can be used here. Okay, tab to see what's there twice. It shows me everything, including hidden folder, hidden files. Let's go take a look at what's in the .lo, auto-completion, local, tab. There's only one folder, share, okay, that works. Tab. There's a bunch of subfolder, key rings, blah, blah, blah. I'm going there. Okay, so these are not folders that are made. They are made by applications that are running on the system, so that they have their configuration and stuff like that stored in your own personal home directory. Once I'm here, I can do the ls, ls-l, ls-a. There's really nothing interesting. Okay, what about the share thing? Well, there's a little bit of stuff. So there are 3 subfolders, there are 2 files, and then there is a hidden file here. Okay, so what about getting more information about that guy? ./.convert tab. Oh, it doesn't want to autocomplete. Did I do something wrong? Let's see, cd. Oh no, I already cd'd ... So I'm here. ls-l.convert launchers. There we go. Some information about that file. Okay, so the only trick is that ... is not always useful. For example, ls/home/a/alessio/edu/cis/1930/what readings/novels. All right. Okay, so I did a ls here of a full path. Okay. Well, I could here. It's stupid, but I could put a dot dot. Okay. If I try it like that, it doesn't work anymore, okay? Because I've transformed the name, and the name doesn't correspond to an actual name of a folder or file in the file system. But that dot dot here means that I was in CIS 1930, I went back to edu. So now I could use that. Let's call back the command with the up arrow. I could use that to actually do things such as from CIS 1930, go back to edu. So that's dot dot in this case. And when you are inside of edu, go back to Alessio. And then when you are inside of Alessio, go inside documents. Oops, I don't want to go in documents. Go back to Alessio, go back to edu. And then instead of CIS 1930, go to COP 5227. Is it a good idea to write things like that? Well, this is an absolute path, right? But that's an absolute path that makes a step forward, 2 steps backward, and then change its way. But this is legitimate syntax. Okay, so this is what you might encounter when file name and path names are generated automatically. Sometimes there are like little things like that because of the way that the information comes to a script or something like that. But besides the fact that this is a little silly, you see how the dot dot is just interpreted anywhere it appears. Anytime it appears in a path, it's interpreted as let's go back one step. Okay. So this is not really super useful, but let's do a cd tilde. Let's go back to our home folder. Okay. And now I can use things such as cd documents. Okay, perfect. I'm here. And now I can use dot dot like this to go back quickly to where to the parent folder of /home/a Alessio document. So that is something that we use all the time, okay? I'm going to look for something, I'm going to navigate into edu, ls, I'm going to go into COP 3353, ls, module 5, ls, oh no, that's not the stuff I'm looking for. Let's go back one level, cd dot dot, ls, let's go to module 3, okay, is there what I'm looking for? Yes, I found it, whatever it was. Okay, so that cd dot dot is used a lot. Now, one last thing, when I do ls-a, there are 2 special folders, dot and dot dot. So we saw that the dot dot is just a way to go back to your parent folder. Okay, what about dot? Well, dot is a little weirder. It means the current folder. So when you are looking at a folder, like for example here, I'm looking at this guy, home, hey, Alessio, edu, COP 3353, M03. That's the current working directory I'm in, okay? Well, if I do ls of that, I get all the files that are here. If I do ls of dot slash, so I'm trying to list the content of the special folder dot, named dot, but that special folder is just the same as the folder that I'm in. So every folder in a Linux system has a special link, if you want to call it that, as a special subfolder that just makes you go back to where you started. What's the point of this? Well, there are times where you are going to want to do, like for example here, I can do ls-names.db, no problem, okay? But there are some times, some scenario that I don't want to go into details right now, where you are going to have to tell the shell, yes, I'm talking about names.db located in my current working directory. By default, the shell always assumes that the names, the path that you give, if they are not absolute, well, they are relative to the current working directory. So that's why it works really easily. But here, I'm being like pedantic. I'm saying ls current directory, so my current working directory, /names.db. And the silliness can go on. You can do ls of the current folder, then we are going to go into, do we have a subfolder here somewhere? Log maybe? Hold on, let me put a space here so I can use autocomplete. I go inside of log, then I go back out, and finally I land on names.db. kind of messed up there. All right, let me fix that real quick. So is that thing existing? Log, log. Yeah, it has to be a file probably. So hey, you know what? We're going to use what we learned. We're going to ask the file command. Is that a folder or a file? It's an ASCII text. So, okay, let's try again. ls, is there any folder in there? No, a cd ... We're going to search and find a folder. There we go. We are now in another current working directory, and we have 3 folders, M01, M03, M05. Okay, so now I can do things such as cd M01, and I can go back and then say, I changed my mind, M03, and then I can say stay here, oops, stay here, completion. Is there anything interesting here? No, nothing interesting here, so I'm going to go back ... and I'm going to go into M05, for example. Wow, that's a very complicated way to write. If I was there, like in this folder, right, I could have written simply cd M05. Okay, so complicated syntax, overcomplicated syntax actually, but just keep in mind, sometimes you have to specify the name of something that is in your current working directory by doing explicitly a / in front of it. /hello.sh in this case, okay? And then most of the time you use a ... with a cd to go back to your parent directory. Where am I? I'm here. Let's go back to edu. Where am I? I'm in edu. Let's go back to my home directory. And then I'm back where I started this video, okay? So with this, we're going to stop here. We covered a bunch of stuff, okay? We covered the concept of absolute path name, relative path name. We covered the concept of the base name. So when you have the full name of a file, including the full path to access it, you can just extract the base name, the name of the file, or the name of the folder you're at the end of the chain. Or you can extract the dir name, whatever you pronounce it like. That is going to be the path leading to that folder or that file. We talked about cd, we talked about ls, the file command, the real path command. We talked about I already mentioned it, pwd, dir name, base name, and host name. So this is a little set of commands that allow you to actually explore the file system of any Linux system that you are using. Last thing, I promise you, and then the video is over. We talked about this thing here, LSU, edu, CIS, and then tab, notes.txt. Okay, there we go. ls and an argument that is pretty much a full, absolute path name of the file notes.txt. Okay. I showed you that we can be silly. We can do, for example, hey, go inside of slash, the root of everything. Then subfolder home, subfolder A, inside of it, subfolder Alessio, inside of it, subfolder edu. Then go back to Alessio, then go back inside edu, then go to CIS 1930, then stay there. So I'm going to put /, stay there, go back again into CIS 1930, and finally we access notes.txt. Okay, so yeah, that works, but like I said before, you know, this is like overcomplicated. So this kind of absolute file name, okay, we just call it an absolute file name, but it's not the best one. It's not the shortest one. What is the shortest one in that case? Well, I'm using up and down arrow here. Let's go and use that command real path that we talked about. I want to know what is the real path for that thing. Real path gives me an absolute path name, right? But it is what is called a canonical absolute path name. This is a path name without any silliness like ... and then go back in the same folder, or /, etc. It's the shortest full absolute path name for notes.txt. Okay? All right, and with that, we are done. So congratulations for staying until the end, and then I'll see you in the next video.